roundtable. This is the one that the community probably thought I would never do. I didn't really want to do, but I decided it'd probably be good content. I brought Mark and Scott with me, like normal, and then I brought the 3 horror people to talk about horror movies. They were nice to me, actually. We'll get into it later, but they brought movies that didn't make me scream or sleep with the light on for too long. So I appreciate that to the 3 of you. First up is Scott. Scott, how are you doing? Welcome back. Again, we've done so many shows like this. Why'd you pick what you picked, and how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm back. The list, I will say, I talked about my roundtable list before and how it's just a lot of mid and like 5 or 6 really good movies. The list I was going to say it got better, but I'm really only putting my first time watches on there. So the movies that I rewatched were great. And actually, yeah, I generally liked everything. So it was a good, not to spoil it, but it was good. And I enjoyed being on one of these genre specific episodes for the first time. But I brought the 2020 movie, The Empty Man, directed by David Pryor. 2020 was a year when some people will say that no movies came out or no movies worth watching came out. I would beg to differ on that. There are certainly some really good movies that came out that year, and this was one of them. It definitely flew under the radar, but it already sort of amassed kind of a cult popularity. I think may continue to do so over the years. So I wanted to give everyone an opportunity to check it out because I noticed that not a lot of people, if anyone, I think maybe Mike had watched it, but maybe nobody else had watched it here before. So.
Next up, my other co-host, Mark Menchaca. No mustache is equal to yours. What'd you pick, and how are you doing?
Doing okay. I was very excited. Okay, very excited to get on this roundtable. Like I have only become like a slightly bigger horror fan like over the couple of years, and honestly, I was ready for some wild stuff, and I watched the lineup come out, and like nobody really picked like goofy horror. Like I think kind of one of us did. So like I threw in, I think probably one of the better underrated kind of goofy horror gem, the 1990 Ron Underwood classic Tremors.
Yeah, you picked the most Mike pick ever, and it wasn't picked by Mike, which I was very surprised with. I have known Mike a long time, and Mike, I expected some batshit crazy thing that 3 people have saw in this world, but Mike was one of them, and he's watched it more than a couple times. Mike, how are you doing, and why did you pick what you picked? Because, again, I wanted you on the show, but I was the most nervous to have you on the show. So...
yeah,
open up to why you picked what you picked, because I'm honestly a lot better than some of the choices I could have gotten from you.
Yeah, I love horror, as a couple people on here really do. So I wanted to I didn't want to go the insane route because I wanted people to actually, for the most part, enjoy this shit. So I went with something that I absolutely love that I've seen since I was a little kid, The Return of the Living Dead. Fucking love that movie. It's a zombie movie mixed with comedy, and I thought that'd be perfect for this type of panel here with people who hadn't seen it or people who are just rewatching it. So yeah, good shit.
Perfect. Another person I was terrified to have on this call because similar to you, I think have seen the basement of horror movies, like that some people should not have stumbled upon. Even the filmmakers probably have not seen their finished copies, but John probably has. John, why did you pick what you picked, and how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I know a lot of people that know me from the trivia community probably would expect me to pick something that would make people vomit or faint, but that really is just just a tactic I use in trivia. I actually am a horror fan, and I appreciate horror movies as movies. So when people ask me what my favorite movie is, I usually have different answers depending on who I'm talking to. And when someone's asking me for a recommendation, I always recommend Let the Right One In, 2008's Let the Right One In by Thomas Alfredson, which I think is an important movie. It covers a lot of themes that aren't covered in horror movies. And it's genre crossing, and I think it's an incredible film. So I'm glad I got to share it with you guys.
Then the final person to add some class to the show, one of the co-hosts of the YouTube channel Film Coven, go subscribe. Melissa wanted her on. She was also joined an elite club with Scott Harvey that almost made Brian Michaels quit the show. Only one person succeeded on this by the movie that they picked last time when they were on the roundtable, because he doesn't like old and he doesn't like foreign
Good
films.
teamwork.
I'll just say that now. So it's actually a good elite company. It's like the Hall of Fame here. But Melissa, glad to have you back on the show. And why did you pick what you picked? And how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Happy to be here. I chose 1997 Cure by directed by hopefully I'm saying this right, Kiyoshi Kurosawa. And
Better than I would have.
and I chose it because I kind of did the same method as I did last time. I picked something I had not seen before, and that's been on my watch list that's highly rated, and that's why I chose it. And I'm glad I did.
Perfect. And then I picked I don't know why I picked what I picked, to be honest with you. It was highly rated by a lot of people. I picked Hereditary. I picked it, and then I do what I normally do and get on call, and I was on call with Tim and Nick, and they went, "Ooh, you're not gonna like that," and I was like, "Oh, well, I already sent it, so here we are." It was either The Exorcist or Hereditary. I picked one. I've done this only one other time. I think that I picked a movie that I haven't seen before. Basically, to cross it off my watch list, because this show is perfect for that, because I have to watch it to talk about it. So I couldn't get out of it. I couldn't skip out of it. So I watched it, and we'll talk about it. We're going to start up with Reba McEntire herself. We're going to talk about Tremors. Tremors, goofy as crap. Mike Hanley actually, I think, paid you to pick this. I'm going to be honest with you. But I haven't seen this movie in a real long time before we started watching this. It used to play on TV a lot. I think, at least I remember watching Reba load a shotgun numerous times growing up. I know there's other people. Reba's the only one that ever stands out. Mark, tell us your favorite. What makes this movie stand out to you? Why'd you pick it? Something you like from it. Go ahead.
Well, I watched Tremors a decent amount as a kid. I honestly, though, watched the direct to VHS sequel even more. Tremors 2 Aftershocks. I don't know if you guys get that pun. It's kind of deep in there. But I think I liked it quite a bit. I liked it fine as a kid, just because they're underground monsters, whatever. It was a easy horror movie to watch, especially back when I was a kid. I didn't like horror at all, and I rewatched it a couple years ago, and I really admire the creativity of this film. I think it does a lot with a little. They are very creative in how they kind of build tension without actually showing the graboid and the fallen fence posts and the shaking buildings and stuff. And whenever we do see the graboid, it's kind of it's really cool, practical effects. And I think more than anything, and what I appreciate about movies in general, it's not afraid to just go there and be very goofy, just be very fun, and just and it just allows all the characters just to kind of ham it up. And I think this movie just has a ton of heart, honestly, and I'm kind of a little surprised how much it's grown on me over the last couple of years since revisiting it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real honest with you. I thought I was gonna hate this movie. I really did. I had all intentions to hate this movie watching it. I was like, oh yeah, Kevin Bacon's in this. This is just overacting to the degree. I enjoyed it for the most part, for what it is. For all the horror movies that I thought I was going to get, Tremors, I appreciate you, Mark. I can't talk badly. You didn't scare me with ghosts or anything creepy or anything too dark. This is all mostly lit. Everything, you could see everything coming. Nothing really freaked me out too bad. Yeah, I just love, this is the perfect 90s cheese horror that I don't love, but I appreciate for what they came out with. Did everybody else, is this the first time? I'm guessing from some majority of you've seen this movie before this, but did you guys like it growing up, or is this like, have you not seen it in a while? Just go ahead and open the talking point about like when you first saw Tremors or this watch and how it aged for you or not. Curious.
Yeah, it's one of the movies that I've seen since I was a small lad. I absolutely love it. This movie was on my top 100, and that's where I think Cody first heard me talk about it. I absolutely love the insanity of this movie. I love that it takes the Jaws approach and doesn't really show the graboids that much, especially at the beginning. And Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward together are fucking fantastic. And I always love me some Michael Gross, who ended up taking on the sequels pretty much on his own and taking the franchise in more insane directions than this fucking movie is. But yeah, everything about this movie, like from the kills to the effects, everything I absolutely love. I watch it every year, at the very least once a year.
I have fun. Oh, go ahead, Melissa. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say this was the second time I've seen it. I came to it later in life. I only saw it like for the first time a few years ago, because my husband was watching it because my husband really likes this movie. And I think it's fine. Like I just think there's better like campy, fun horror movies out there. And this one just kind of lands in the middle a little bit for me. But I really love the effects. I'm glad that like it's all practical for the most part. And I don't know, it's a lot of fun. Like I it's an enjoyable movie, but it's not necessarily one I want to like rewatch over and over again per se.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I actually remember this coming out in theaters when I was like an older elementary school person, and my only exposure to Michael Gross before this was the dad on Family Ties. So to see him as a Second Amendment loving American blew my mind as a young child. But yeah, I've seen this movie like countless times, and I think it has kind of like worn away on me. But the nostalgia has replaced the predictability, I guess, and the creature effects are top notch. Like what they pulled off. Like the magnitude of those creatures is really good, I have to say.
Yeah, I had never seen this before. I was yeah, I know.
I'm shocked. I am shocked.
Yeah, fair enough. And it's actually funny, Cody, that you mentioned it's as watching it on TV, because I was looking for a place to watch this movie where I didn't have to pay, and they had it on the Internet Archive, but it was like a DVR version from like NBC in like 1998 or something. So I ended up watching it actually, even though it was a TV edit, which I guess was kind of funny in some part because they edited out some of the cursing. But I liked watching the old TV commercials as part of the movie. But I think I got the movie. I got the gist of the movie, so I don't think that was too big of a sacrifice I made there. But yeah, no, I think it's fine. I'm not a monster movie fan for the most part. It's not really my subgenre of horror movie that I gravitate towards a lot, which is probably why I hadn't seen this before. I do think the effects are really good. I like that when we get to like the climax of the movie, they actually have to like use their brains a little bit to figure out how to defeat the monsters. It's not just a shootout or hacking them up and something like that. There's a little bit more creativity with how they have to defeat the monsters. I just don't really care about any of the characters. I think no, not Reba. I think Kevin Bacon's arc in the movie is basically, by the end of the movie, he's decided that, maybe there are some women who are attractive that aren't just blonde bombshells or whatever they describe at the start of the movie. That's like his character development, his growth at the end of the movie. So, yeah, I mean, good for him, but I have trouble getting on that man's level. But it's a fun enough time. I enjoy that it doesn't take itself too seriously.
I was in tears. Again, it might have been the time I watched this, like, overall, but I was real late. I knew I had to watch this movie. And when they're all just standing around in the desert and Kevin Bacon just takes off running, and they're like, what are you doing? I got a plan. You don't want to tell the plan prior to, like, you just stand. They stand there for like 3 or 4 minutes, just nothing happened, just listening. And then they just start bolting it, and it's like, can you fly, sucker? One of the cheesiest, like, underground like camera. I was like, what the like? So when I say I liked it, like I didn't dread my time through it. Is this a movie that I probably will revisit anytime soon? No. But overall, like not in a bad, enjoyable time. But like Kevin Bacon, I don't know if he's on some controlled substance during this or not, but he is on something throughout this movie because he is overacting to a degree that I have not seen in a lot of movies. Like, or he's taking it the most serious of everybody else because no one else is on like equal level to him throughout this movie for me. Is there any other scenes that you guys like draw you into this movie or want to talk about? I don't want to skip too fast over Tremors. I don't want to miss it. Right? Okay.
I mean, I love the pole vaulting aspect of this movie. I just think it's so ridiculous that they're just like pole vaulting from rock to rock.
Can't get the rock. They can't. These things can't lift rocks. They can't like dive into another ground. Like there's so much. I would love to hear like to see the scientific like development of these creatures because they're very like they can do everything, but then they can't do anything. They can tear through the ground, but a little rock they can't lift or move or attack or know a human's on top of it, which is
It's a
mind-blowing.
big boulder, though. I don't know. It's a huge boulder.
But then later on in the
Yeah.
movie, they're destabilizing the foundations of an entire town. So it's a little plot holy, but it's okay.
But that's
I
like
do like
forest.
some-
Like I'm talking about a rock.
I
Oh
do
yeah,
like some
yeah,
of the-
yeah. Thank you for that. That bomb throw too that Kevin Bacon does and just totally misses it, even though they tell him to throw it now. No, wait, still misses by a large margin.
I do like some of
Why
the
didn't they
beginning when they're-
think earlier to? Go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying when they're like trying to figure out exactly what happened, like before the monsters even get revealed or anything, and they're kind of like, what the heck's going on here? They find the guy who's up on the tower or whatever, he climbed up there and just like is frozen up there. There's some good like mystery or intrigue surrounding like what exactly. As with a lot of horror movies, once the creature actually gets revealed, there is some tension that goes out of the movie because you don't actually, your imagination that gets taken out of it. That's why I like the Blair Witch Project so much because you never actually see the Blair Witch, but the
She's
imagination
snobbing
gets
those.
taken out of it a little. But I mean, here it's still good because the creatures are very well designed. So
And
but
there's
it's
I mean,
not
yeah.
trying to, and it's not trying to be scary either. So like, who cares really?
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, a little bit tension does take out, but it's still like this underground rock monster who has no eyes and snakes for tongues. Like your imagination was not gonna come up with that.
Oh yeah.
I do appreciate it too because if this film is like released today or made today, this is all like awful. Like overall, you've got CGI just giant like worms flying out of the thing and doing crazy. Like it's stupid in the concept in the 90s, but it would be way worse today with technology, even though like the CGI that they do use in this movie doesn't look amazing, but overall it would be like a CGI nightmare nowadays. So like you got to appreciate like the practical and everything that they're able to accomplish with this. So I don't give movies like their flowers for like using a practical effect because I could give shit less. But I'm proud of this moment because like what it could be. There's definitely plot holes throughout Tremors. But if you expected like a flawless movie, the title should have given it away or the poster. So on a roundtable, we basically go around giving scores. If you've already scored on Letterboxd, that's fine. Just let us know what you gave it. Mark. Oh, and also, I always do this. Regardless how you guys feel, if you agree with Mark, do not say anything. If you disagree with Mark, you can just give him a weird face. We are on a spooky episode. He does have Saw 2 listed half a star. I just want that on record because that is a trash take, trash opinion. Just want that on the record. Mark, what is this rating?
I don't know. It's a bad movie, man.
You're a Texas Tech fan, so it's fine. Go ahead.
I hate you. I like Tremors a lot. It's a hell of a fun movie, and I, honestly, at this point, it's an every year Halloween watch for me. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I like it a lot.
I know Mike very well. I can only predict the score. I didn't see it on Letterboxd prior, but if this isn't a great fucking movie, you're a fraud. So, what's your rating, Mike?
Oh yeah, it's a great fucking movie. 5 out of 5.
Yep, absolutely called that from a mile
What a
away.
surprise!
Kevin Bacon, gun, and worm monsters. Set in the 90s. I'm 3 stars. I'm 3 stars. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's bad. If it was on, I probably would change it, but I wouldn't like dread it if I sat through the whole thing. Melissa, what's your rating?
Yeah, I'm the same. I would give it 3 stars. It's a fine movie. It's not like, again, the most fun I've had in like a campier horror movie, but it's not terrible. Like I would rewatch it again. And yeah, so 3 stars.
John.
If we do half stars, can we do half stars here?
Yeah, you can.
This is a 3. This is a 3.5 for me. Or otherwise, I would say it's a 3 if I couldn't do half stars. Just there's a lot of nostalgia to it. Mother Humpers, the whole scene where Reba and Michael Gross are just using every gun in the history of mankind to kill the one thing. There's lots of fun, like little tiny clips. The movie altogether is fine, but just those little moments it raise it a little bit for me. So it's definitely a 3.5.
I think that's the only way Reba signed on to this movie. Can I use every gun imaginable? Hell yeah, you can. Scott, if this isn't 4 stars, you're a fraud too. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
if this is over 3 stars, you need help.
This is the most 3 out of 5 movie. Like this is just a quintessential 3-star movie in my opinion. So I give it 3 stars.
I'll take it.
All right. Next up, we're going to 1997's Cure from Melissa's movie. Two foreign films in an episode. This would have sent Brian Michaels over the edge, and we would have never been able to do this episode. Cure. So, Melissa, you can take it away. Started what drew you to this movie? Again, it's your first time watch, so you probably heard people say about it. Dylan Van Thine, when I brought this episode up, he's like, give me the movies. I'm going to watch this prior to the episode so I can watch them along, because he was really curious. And he told me, like, I think you're going to really like Cure. And he's not wrong. I really enjoyed it. So what drew, I guess, of being a horror fan, but what drew you to Cure without seeing it?
Yeah, it's been on my watch list for a while now. I've heard nothing but good things about it. The comparison I kept hearing was that it's very similar to Seven, or it gives off Seven vibes. And I don't know. I just thought this would be a good opportunity to watch it. And yeah, I'm really glad I did. I think it's a bit hard to fully like flesh out all my feelings on a first time watch. I think this is definitely a movie you need to watch quite a few times to like get everything from it. But yeah, basically it's about this detective and police kind of force. They're investigating some murders that are occurring and trying to connect the pieces. And do they not? I don't know. But I really, really liked this movie a lot. I think on a technical level, it's like a masterclass in regards to like filmmaking. I think the sound design is incredible because I think a big thing with horror movies is the music, and there's no music in this movie. I think a little bit at the beginning and the end, but like there's really no music throughout the movie. And so I feel like it uses the sound design to like add tension to different scenes with like just like the water and things like that. So I think this would have been incredible to see like in the theaters. And yeah, I think there's a lot of cool like camera work going on. And I think the performances from everyone was fantastic. But yeah, I think I definitely want to rewatch it probably sooner rather than later, because I just feel like there's a lot of details in every scene that I probably didn't pick up on a first watch.
Yeah, so I knew nothing about this. I started looking into it, because I heard the Seven comparison. Like Scorsese says it's like one of the most brutal movies like he's seen. I think it's like Bong Joon-ho's like favorite movie. Like, so there's like a lot of like people out there that like rave about this movie. I had my concerns, of course, because I'm an idiot and foreign films don't always like hit with me, and it's just the problem. I have an attention span of a gnat. But I I think I'm along with Melissa. I think I need to definitely rewatch this because I think there are stuff that I'm going to pick up more. Probably take a few more watches than Melissa because again I'm an idiot. But it's just I can see the 7 comparison 100% like overall, and like how this film is like paced and like you're with the music and stuff like that. I think this is just flawless, like of like a horror movie is, and especially of knowing nothing going into it. I heard a 7 comparison before it. Yeah, I was really blown away by this movie, especially knowing nothing prior going in. So what does everybody else did anybody see this movie prior to this watch? I'm just curious. I'm shocked. Okay, so yeah. How did your first watch go to your, and then this is your second, or whatever watch it is for you guys? So, did you pick up anything new on the second watch? But like, did you like it more the second time too? That's what I'm curious from the 3 people that have seen it.
I think I had just watched this earlier this year for like this challenge I put on myself. But I'm familiar with the director because I had seen Pulse, but like I'd never heard of this movie like in any sort of circles until I started really doing research. And on my first watch, I made the 7 comparison because you have the lead detective who just works too goddamn hard, Brad Pitt, right? There he is. And then I was just kind of getting into it, and I missed a lot. I still rated it pretty high because I got some feelings, watching the movie. It was really well done. The second time through, I started to understand more about like the motivations of the antagonist and like how he's going about doing it, because I knew I didn't need to brace myself for anything like that. So the second watch of Cure is better than the first watch of Cure because like you kind of know what's going on, but you can actually start to unravel because it is a pretty complicated, convoluted way that the bad guy works.
Yeah, Mike, Scott.
This is my 3rd time watching it. I saw it for the first time like 10 years ago, and I absolutely loved it. But there was a lot of stuff that I missed for sure. And then on the second time, I watched it last year for the second time, and it just increased how much I loved it. What Melissa brought up with sound design is fucking incredible. The atmosphere of it is just amazing, and that's what I put a lot towards 7 as well. Is the atmosphere of it just elevates everything with it, and I got a lot more out of it on the second time watch. And then we watched it a couple days ago. Yeah, it still confirms that this is one of the best horror movies out there. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, I watched this maybe 1 or 2 years ago, so I guess my opinion didn't change a whole lot, just because it was recent. But I loved it the first time. I felt the exact same way after watching it the second time. Yeah, maybe understood it a little better. I think that's most movies probably when you go back and rewatch them. But yeah, I honestly think even though this is not a traditional horror movie necessarily, it's more of a psychological thriller, probably you would say. It's maybe like the scariest movie that we're talking about because of like the ideas that it has going on, and specifically like it's sort of a throwaway line at one point in the movie, but it's kind of like the whole point that when the psychologist tells him, yeah, you could hypnotize somebody to do certain things, but they're not going to do them. They're not going to commit these murders unless basically you can't make them do something that they would not do, is what the forensic psychologist says. So the idea being that, yes, he's using these tools to get someone to commit a murder at this particular point in time, but these people are already predisposed to commit murder. They are willing to commit murder, and like they're just normal everyday people, it seems, from what little we know about them. So that's kind of a terrifying idea right there, that how easy it is, I guess, for someone like that to just one day, like the detective, for example, say, oh, I'm sick of my wife and her illnesses and everything that she's going through, I'm gonna murder her. Like, you think of that as being like, oh, again, these are crazy people, these are insane people, right, that commit these murders like this. But somebody, all the people in this movie that commit the murders, they just need like a little push. That's kind of what the idea is, and I think that's pretty scary. I also think the sound design is brilliant when they use the silence for example, I love the scene where they're interrogating the one guy who's like he's like the toll booth operator or whatever he is, and they're trying to test out their theory. They're like trying to do the X and get him to, and he like pulls out the pencil or whatever it is, and he's like walking towards the other cop, and it's just completely silent, and you're just like, oh, is he like about to try and stab this guy right here? And then he does, but then also that sound at the end of the movie when he goes into that building with the dude with the the antagonist, the wind like outside that building, the like whistling noise that is one of the creepiest sounds that I don't know how they made that sound exactly, but it is like chilling. So I love this movie. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, I didn't like find it scary. I think it's really interesting. I still liked it quite a bit. Like, it just, even though I think usually whenever I do watch horror movies, I think the thing that usually creeps me out more is like creepy people. I don't know, like I find just regular people like really. So yeah, that probably should have got me, but like I think this movie does a really good job of like very slowly pulling you in. How I think especially every time we see like I guess the bad guy, so to speak, the main antagonist, like who, like every time like we see him meeting somebody, he's doing something, we just see just a little bit more of his process. And because at the first time we just think like, oh, he's just some, I don't know, he's like some homeless dude that people are just feel sorry for, and they're just kind of letting him in, and he just pulls him in just ever so slightly, and it just like in this weird manipulative manner of like not giving you anything. And I mean, I even felt at times like, is this guy just like an idiot? So like, is he really just playing us this much? Like it's a strange character trait, and like the ending is really weird. I didn't honestly understand exactly what happened at the end until like I read the wiki, and then I went back and rewatched the last 10 minutes.
Mark, a man of the people. No, I agree with you. I'm stupid like that too. I was like, what the fuck are we doing here? Go ahead, John.
Yeah, on rewatch, like I kind of slightly disagree with one of the things Scott said, because I do think at least one of the murders, it's that the antagonist's methodology of hypnotizing the people actually does cross over the moral boundary. Because the one school teacher who murders his wife, there's no motive. Like in the entire time they talk to that guy, he didn't even have an inkling of not liking his wife, and he killed her anyway.
Yeah, it's so not really the motive issue. It's just that psychologically, this person could commit murder under the right circumstances. Like, and I think we don't want to think like we want to think about ourselves as we would never do that, obviously. So
I think it's more like when Sakuma says the whole thing, like they would never do it. It's the fact that the antagonist has figured out this advanced methodology, and yet all the scenes where he is just like he has the goldfish memory, or he's acting like he has the goldfish memory. I think the scene when he's in the full, like when he's at the table and the entire police force is interrogating him, and the chief of police loses his shit, is such like a great scene. Yeah, he's gonna rough him up, and it's like, well, listen, this is just how he is. But it's like a whole like primal fear thing he's pulling, where because at the end when he's alone, he clearly he's fully lucid at the end of the movie. So we find out that is part of the method.
Yeah, I disagree with Mark in regards to the antagonist being like, I think he is terrifying. I find him very scary. And every time he came on screen, I was like, this motherfucker. Like, and that's a good thing for me. Like if I'm feeling like frustrated or like really like amped up by somebody, like I think that's a good thing for me when I'm watching a movie, and I very much felt that way every time he came on. I was like, all right, here we go again with all his questions. He's gonna be the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. Who are you? Like the whole time. And I'm just but I loved his character. I thought the whole movie was very, very unsettling. Yeah, it's not like jump scare like typical horror, but I think it really gets under your skin type of horror.
Yeah, it's like definitely a psychological horror like that, like that kind of horror. And I'm with Melissa, like that's like me with movies. Like I need a plot, of course, like I'm that common person, but like I need like a character to draw some emotion out of me, regardless of whatever it is, anger, happiness, sadness, frustration, something that I can like that makes a movie go from like okay to like above. Like if I feel like an actual emotion watching it, that means I've been taken out of like my living room and put into the film, which is what this movie did. I was the same way with you. As soon as that antagonist, I'm like, motherfucker. Like I was just like, get off my damn screen. Like I just couldn't. But I thought it was like so like it was an interesting way because I don't know if I've seen another horror movie or something like that attaches like hypnotism to like leading people to do like crimes. Like you've seen Possession, like a ton of movies that make them do something, but like getting to that thing and forcing like basically somebody to act on what they were capable of doing or not. It's still one of like a freaky thing. Like I probably will skip a lot more doctor's appointments even if they don't have hypnotism power. Like I don't trust you anymore, like anybody. So like that's just a skill. Like I think that's what drew me in. Like I was like, wow, this is like a level of like, yeah, you get the 7 comparisons, but like that had an extra layer into it that I was really enjoying. So Scott, I think you were going to say something, but I don't.
I was just going to say the ending too is like super haunting. Just the last scene of the woman in the diner or whatever, just like walking with a knife. Again, like no music or anything, and it's like,
only there for like a second too. Like you just barely see it, and then the movie just ends.
So smart, so smart. Like, because I think that adds way more. Like, if he would have killed some, like even if they would have like done it, like sure they could have, but I think it achieves more by just leaving it to like it's continuing.
And you mentioned Bong Joon-ho too. Like it reminds you of the ending of Memories of Murder, where he's like just looking into the camera, and it's like so open-ended. Like who's next?
You can tell too, like with different filmmakers that, especially that like certain movies, and they've come out to say it. You can like go back and watch movies and pick up like, okay, like not they take what they like, and they use it in their own. So I think that's very fascinating to watch. I don't want to skip over Kira, but I highly recommend this for anybody that hasn't watched it. Again, there are 2 movies on this list that I haven't heard a lot of like comment about, but I definitely, after this episode, and I think for future, I think definitely deserve some watches in the future for sure. Okay, we'll give ratings. Melissa.
Yeah, I loved this. Again, just on a technical level, I think it's flawless, and yeah, very, very unsettling, and that's good for me. So I'm giving it 5 stars. I don't have any problems with the movie.
There we go. John, what's yours?
I give it a 4.5. It's really up there. There's just a few maybe little small technical things that keep it from being a 5-star movie for me. I think as I keep rewatching it and I become like an expert on the whole methodology of the whole movie, this might go up to 5 stars in the future. But right now, it's sitting clearly at a 4.5 for me. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It's obviously fantastic. Everything about this movie is fantastic. Pretty innovative, pretty original as well. Like Cody said, I can't really think of any other movies off the top of my head where people are like, where they're not fully being controlled by some like possession magic, or technology that this happens. This is pure psychology, like post-hypnotic suggestion murders, which is pretty unique.
Scott.
It's really close to being a 5, but I'm going to give it a 4.5. I think everyone should see it. It's brilliant.
Mark.
I think
it's all right. You gave Saw 2.
I think I need like I go a little bit for. I think a rewatch I think will go a long way with this movie. I think for right now, I'll break the letterbox scale and go say it's a 4.25 out of 5 stars.
That is not a legit rating by it. You're getting either 4 or 4.5. Which one you want? Listen, Andrew Barr.
He wants to give it 4. Yeah.
It's fine. I'll give it a 4. You made me do it. I wanted to give it a 4 too, but I'll give it a 4. It's the same rating.
A full star worse than Forrest Gump. Yeah.
You wanted to, you would have. That's the Mike Hanley rule of like when people really like a movie in this community and he doesn't want to get backlash, he gives it 4 stars. Look at his letterbox. I'll tell you, it doesn't happen that often, but it's there. Mike, 3 times watching, I'm assuming this is a 5.
You know, I love me some psychological horror, and then mix that in with the effects and everything else. Yeah, it's a great fucking movie. 5 stars.
Melissa 2 times on the show, 2 times gave me a 4-star movie. I'll take it. 4 stars for me. I could go up. I think the more I watch it and the less I'm an idiot. Definitely could go to 4.5 for sure, or 5. So I really enjoyed it, and I will definitely be revisiting it. So that's a plus. Okay, the next one, Mike Hanley, The Return of the Living Dead. Again, I want to do a blanket statement for everything. I didn't hate any of the movies that I was given this week, this month, which on paper I should have hated a lot more. So even this movie, I had some fun with. So Mike, I guess this is like 70 times watched at this point. Love it every day.
It's a lot.
I knew I was onto something. Like as soon as those 2 guys are just talking in an office, like what happened, blah blah, and they go downstairs to just look at the body inside the thing, and that idiot just, what's this? And then just releases it. I'm like, yep, this is my camera.
Bodies in here.
Yeah, just like, dead? Like, what? Really? Yeah, let me show you. It's cleaned up. The guy's second day on the job. Like, what are we doing here? He cracks the one. That thing's been in there for however long. Like, can it get out? No, this thing by the government. Moron, just out in the world. And then everything starts. I was just like, God. It's like Kaleb Koho on the first day of job. So, yeah, Mike. Go ahead. Just talk about the scenes you love. I know there's some dumb shit that you just like, great, perfect, love it. Go ahead. When they start beating the dog, that's like the little at the very God.
It's only half a dog.
Yeah, half a dog. Let's be correct.
When I was a kid, I absolutely loved the Romero zombie movies. So my parents decided to go, hey, you love that movie? You love those movies? Well, let's show you this one, a spoof, pretty much a spoof off of Night of the Living Dead, and see what you like. And I absolutely fell in love with it. I watched this movie more than I watched the Romero zombie movies at this point. Just the names in general, these characters are fucking insane. And I love it. Suicide. You got Trash, Scuzz. Like, it's just ridiculous names. And then you got the little person zombie, which when that came up, I went, this is going to be a fan for life for me. It's just so fucking ridiculous. Just popping up and waddling towards the die, and then you never see him again. It's just so insane. And I love the fact that it all takes place basically in the warehouse and the cemetery, and that is it. You just have all this crazy shit happen to these characters, and they all get theirs little by little. You got the cemetery dance sequence where Lena Quigley, it just strips for no fucking reason. It just starts dancing, and if torches are being brought out.
If you look at the Amazon X-ray on that scene, it's like there's like a note that says like the director basically put that in the movie because he wanted more like men to come and watch the movie, basically. As if men weren't going to be the audience who went to watch this movie in the first place, I guess. I don't know what his theory was.
Yeah,
but
I don't know what the audience level. They're too. Yeah. We got to get more men.
We got to throw some more content for the dudes in here.
If there was a huge female population for this movie in this time frame, I'm shocked. No one raved about this. That's crazy.
And her name is Josh. She's carrying her clothes around for like a half hour. Never has time to put them back on, but she's carrying them in her hands.
Like, the thing I will give you, the thing that I do, I think the practical effects that they're able to achieve in this movie is like top notch. Like, and I'll say this. I believe Romero's a hack. I have said this before to Kirk. I do not care. He can come for me. The first Living Dead, I hate that movie.
Oh, I watched that.
Boring. You mean you watched it together, and I wanted to rip my eyeballs out of my head. Nothing happens in that fucking movie, and everybody's terrible actors. But this one, like I guess it helped because when I started, I was like, Mike Hanley picked this movie, so it gives like a buffer before I watch it. Not that I don't respect him as a film, but when he picks a horror movie for me, I know there's a level of bullshit that's going to come along with it. And about, again, as soon as the 8th character showed up, that's a fucking idiot. I was like, yep, this is a Mike movie. Because, like, again, I don't know where they found all of them to act like in this, but again, how they don't have Academy Awards at this point, I'm really shocked. Because, man, there's some gems. But again, it's goofy, it's silly, but it's like a cool play on the zombie movies, because I think zombie movies in general, like, I know slashers and stuff like that get bad raps. I think zombie movies are like completely like dead for me. Like, I think there are good ones. I think there are ones that pop out every once in a while that are good, but it's such a genre that's so hard to like compete with, like, that entertain me at this point, because like it's either cliche after cliche, or the stuff around them, and like gotta shoot them in the head and do all this stuff. This one just goofy and just goes at it and like puts a twist on it that I'm like fully on board with. So it's like a Shaun of the Dead version, like kind of like where it takes zombies, they're the focal point, but it's just chaos and stupidity that just ensues. So that's why I like it's helped me through it and again, there's not one moment that they sat on set and go, we're going to take this serious on this scene. Like, nope, that's just dumb, and we're going to continue. So, yeah, I'm guessing John's seen this movie prior. Yeah. And is this a first time watch for everybody else before this? Oh, you've seen it before too, Melissa?
No, it's a first time.
First time watching it. So, John, real quick, like, your take on rewatch, and did you like this prior, or did this
is another like nostalgia movie, just like Mike. It wasn't shown to me as a small child. I was a small child when this movie came out. But actually, the one thing about this movie that always stands out to me is these guys are idiots, but they are armed with the same knowledge that we're armed with. Like, yeah, we got to hit him in the head. And then they freaking take the pickaxe to the zombie's head. It doesn't work. They're like, fuck, it didn't work. So they do not know. Yeah. And everything they do actually makes it worse. And then the big reveal is that, hey, the government was waiting for this to happen. It's so good. But yeah, it is a spoof, but it's a smart spoof, but it's disguised as like a wacky movie with some really, really shitty, weird things happening. I think the one thing I don't like about this movie is at the end of the movie, when like the zombies, when like the stuff gets released into the atmosphere again, they just show the same exact scene of the same exact zombie coming out of the grave. And I'm like, you fuckers.
Absolutely. So first time watches for everybody else. Thoughts?
I love this. This was so much fun. I love horror comedy. Like, I'm not really a big comedy person. I've been trying to watch more and more comedies, and I think I'm liking them more these days. But I love a good horror comedy, and this was just perfect. I loved it. I thought it was a great zombie movie. The effects were great. The music was fantastic. Like, that opening music got me hyped. I was like, I am ready. Let's go. Honestly, the thing I hated the most was that damn girl's fake ass wig. Like, it was so fake. It, like I just feel like if she like went like this, it would fall off. Like, it was driving me insane. So I was impressed that it stayed on for the movie, because I thought for sure it was gonna fall off at some point. But no, this is great. I had a lot of fun with it.
Here's what I'll say. The last movie that Mike brought was Idle Hands on the round table.
Talk about throwing a grenade in a room and leaving.
This is and then he didn't show up. He didn't show up.
He drops that bomb and doesn't show up.
It's so funny too that the two movies that like the person has not showed up was Idle Hands and Wake and Fright, which are two of the most disturbed movies that we have watched. But
and Aquila and the Bee.
Kangaroos get murdered. But anyway, this is better than Idle Hands. It's not really my thing, so I'm not going to say that I loved it. I enjoyed the tone of the movie, even if it's not my sense of humor. I have to say, Melissa, there's nothing wrong if you don't like comedies. There are a few of us out there who don't, and we need to just stand strong in our belief because everyone else is trying to silence us. But no. So the sense of humor wasn't necessary for me. Although I have to say, it gets a boost for me because of the last 5 minutes, because I had no idea that there was going to be a nuke in this movie. I think, like all of us, I instantly was just Googling what is the budget for this movie, like while I was watching this nuclear explosion happening on screen. And it wasn't bad looking, to be honest with you. Like, the movie cost $3 million, apparently, if anyone's curious. But it wasn't the worst looking nuke, that considering how bad like the dog thing looked earlier in the movie, that we're alluding to. I was not expecting a very good explosion, but it was fine. So that part was kind of funny. The rest, again, yeah, the dumb characters just don't really do it for me. So thank you for expanding my palette, Mike, as always.
So much more.
I'm going to begin by saying I know I'm the guy that brought Tremors here, but I don't know. But I thought it was fine. I thought it was fine. I like zombie movies too. Like I do. I just like I don't know, man. It wasn't hidden for me. It's just like okay, so we're here. Like really, they released the gas we're just here, like, all right, and then they're just bumping around, like they're carrying the body to the morgue, like, oh, what's that guy doing? Like, that's not him. He wouldn't carry something to the morgue. Like, what? like, I don't know. And then and then when we get to the chick like dancing at the cemetery, I'm just like, what the fuck am I watching? What's going on here? Like,
had to get more men to the theater.
Like, I was just.
Again, that's the equivalent of the in Idle Hands when they just make Jessica Alba be in her underwear for no reason at the end of the movie.
That's so true.
Like, I do appreciate how this movie just kind of keeps upping the ante, and it just kind of gets weirder and crazier. Like, I don't know, like the nuke thing was all right. It just, although it does feel like, we didn't give this movie an ending. We just like, okay, we ran out of money, so let's just stop here. But I don't know, like it's okay. I like zombies.
You want the rest of the movie to continue after a nuke goes off? It's over. I just still love at the end the nuke goes off and they're like, "Don't worry about it, General. Only 20 square blocks got taken care of in the fire. It's going out by the rain. We're good." Like, they're complaining about burning skin.
There was room for more of a commentary on the government, but I think they missed out a little.
They hit it perfectly. It's just like, yeah, we just killed civilians. We're good.
Yeah, it could have been a lot more. Yeah.
This is the drone strike controversy.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's the chaos that Mike brings on the round table. Targets, Idle Hands,
Targets is
Return of the Living Dead. Yeah. So he knows how to bring them. Anything I don't want to skip, don't want to waste, take anybody's time from talking about another. Anybody want to talk about the graveyard scene one more time? Go ahead.
I will say the acid to the face and him fucking running her around, chasing her, fucking great shit.
Also, for horror fans, if you've watched a lot of horror movies, like a lot of the people that show up in this movie are, horror mainstays, Matthews, from Friday 6 and Miguel Nunez from Friday 5, the dude, what's his name? James
Friday 5. Thanks for bringing that up.
James Karen, if you're from the Northeast, like I am, he was the Pathmark guy on the Pathmark commercials. All your favorites show up in this movie. So
I remember that one guy from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, the hitman from Weekend at Bernie's is in there. You'll love it. You'll love pointing out all your favorite actors in this movie.
Mike, was the 5th Friday the one with the chocolate bar?
Yes.
Oh God, what a piece of shit we watched together.
The guy in the movie, the guy Spider in this movie is the guy that gets killed in the outhouse in Friday the 13th Part 5.
He's also Juana Man.
And according to the Amazon notes, he was homeless when they shot this movie, so he made it. Congratulations.
He probably still is. Anyways, okay. We're gonna get ratings. You want me to skip you, Mike, or just
you can just skip me at this point?
Okay, 5 stars for Mike.
Yeah.
I'm 3 stars. Again, it's the same. I think it's 3. Not bad, not good, but it's passable. Melissa.
Yeah, I will give this 4. Just 80s horror just hits my heart different. 4 stars.
That's perfect. John.
And I left out Clu Gulager, the father from Nightmare on Elm Street 2, also the bartender in the Feast series. Rest in peace. 3.5 for me. Same logic as Tremors. Like, I also love 80s movies. It's a huge nostalgia factor. I agree with Cody. It's a 3-star movie. But all those little beats, graveyard scene aside, all the beats in this movie, raise it that high.
Scott.
2.5. It's a special movie. Yeah.
Whoa. The earth, the ground is shaking by that shocking review. I'm surprised it's not. Mark.
I'll give it 2.5. I'll give it 2.5 stars. It's fine.
Oh.
It's whatever. Yeah. 2
full stars better than Scream 2. Crazy. Okay. All right.
Saw 2, right?
Reviews on
Saw
Letterboxd.
2.
Saw 2. Sorry. Scream 2. Okay. So the next movie up on the table, Depression, Dread. I don't know. Like, this movie honestly, of the worst pick, like movie that made me feel the worst was my pick. I'll be honest with you. Holy shit. This movie's just yeah. I picked Hereditary. I've heard a lot about Hereditary. Midsommar, I watched. I called it a car crash that I couldn't look away from. But like a good car crash. Like, not a bad movie, but like it's not like the movie is like I respect it on so many technical levels, but it makes me feel like watching it. But it's good. Like, I understand why horror fans like absolutely love Midsommar. I can get it. And this is very similar to that in that regard, that I can definitely understand if people love this movie. I get it. This movie is one I knew prior to going into it. We'll just we'll just take the head right off right now. Let everybody, the poll, yes, I've known about that for a while. Did not know what happens to. I just know a poll is involved. Wow. Cool. And didn't really need the day after. Like to see. Didn't need that. I'll be honest with you.
A lot can happen in a day.
Toni Collette, I believe, was absolutely. I don't know who won, so don't give me. I don't need that bullshit. But robbed from whatever nomination. She is absolutely incredible in this film. And I think what ties me to this movie more, because the dread and like misery you feel for this character, like, is directly tied to her the entire, like, and if her performance is like even 10% lower than what it is, I think it drops personally. I think she's just, you feel the pain and like the torture of her character throughout this entire movie. But yeah, this movie is just, joy and happiness all around. Everybody else saw Midsommar before this episode, I'm assuming, correct?
Hereditary.
We saw Hereditary.
What did I say?
You said Midsommar.
You've seen both.
Yes.
You've seen both. You can, if you want to talk about Midsommar, go ahead. I've talked about it now.
How about
I don't give a shit. At this point, so everybody saw that movie prior. On like, what were your guys' initial thoughts of watching it like for the first time? Like, besides depression and like sadness.
Well, I'm a psychopath, and I watched it twice in one day. The first time I watched it, I restarted it right away, and I watched it again.
Special.
Because I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with Ari Aster. I'm an Ari Aster stan. I have loved all.
You and Mark are going to become best friends here.
All 3 of his movies. Beau's Afraid is still my favorite of the year.
Okay. Anybody else watch it twice? Mike, that's a special kind of.
No, I've seen it 4 times now. I saw it in the theater, and I gave this a 4, at first, and it was because I was not expecting the tonal shift that it takes from up until the father gets lit on fire, and then it turns into a straight up slasher fucking movie of her chasing him around the house. That tonal shift just fucking it blew my fucking head. It's just out of nowhere that the shift happens that I couldn't really put it together of why that like hit very tonally. But when I saw it the second time and knew it was coming, I was fucking all in on it. And I will say probably one of the best sequences of this movie is not when her head gets popped off, because that's always a joy, but it's the realistic aspect of the son driving home and not knowing what to fucking do. So he just sits in the car and he doesn't know. And then he just goes to sleep because he's so freaked out. He is so out of his mind that he has no fucking idea what's going to happen. And he's so fucking terrified that he doesn't call anybody. He doesn't tell anybody. He just goes to fucking sleep and waits for the scream.
Mom wakes up to go to the store the next day.
The screaming, like those screams, that is just like that soul crushing.
Yeah.
Like,
and the immediate scene after where she's just on the floor saying she wants to die is like, like Toni Collette, like, all hail Toni Collette.
I know. Yeah.
Such a great scene.
He knows how to direct screaming, that's for sure. If you see also has the same like screams that you feel in your soul, like from characters.
Ariana is good for like two things. Like you're not escaping this movie. No protagonist is escaping the movie, and unnecessary nudity. You'll see it in every Ari Aster movie.
Okay, save the ending, because I have that's one of the things I want to talk about, discuss the ending of this movie a little bit. So just we'll get there in a second. But Mark, John, I will save you because you're the most positive here. John and Scott, did you guys talk about your first time watching this movie and liking it, or did
my first time watching it? I knew A24 was a thing, so I went into it thinking it was going to be great, and I wasn't disappointed that it was great. And then going back to, I think I've seen it 3 times, so every time I watch it, I know what's going to happen. But so I'm really just picking apart little things in the scene now. I'm at that level with it, and it doesn't detract at all. I think the one thing, if I could only pick one thing, Hereditary does perfectly. That old trope of protagonist knows exactly what's going on, every other character thinks they're crazy, is done perfect in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it in theaters. I loved it the first time. Probably enjoyed it even a little bit more the second time. I may have watched it one other time. I'm not sure, but the ending is like the last 5 minutes is the only thing that stops us from being an all-time movie, in my opinion. I think the plot just gets a little bit out of control, but I think in general the movie is a classic for a reason. It has so many images that are iconic already, whether it's the head, whether it's Toni Collette just standing up at the table and yelling at everybody, whether it's Alex Wolff, who also I think doesn't probably get enough credit for his performance. I think he's really good in the movie too, but banging his head on his desk, there's so many things that are just burned into your brain from this movie, and that is the sign of a effective movie. There's no denying this movie just gets under your skin in the same way that his other movies do too. And I do like Midsommar more, but I think this movie's undeniable.
All right, Mark, your first time watch, you are known to be you and Tim, I would say, in my life, are very positive on this director and his works. And again, if that has changed, please let me know, but I think I'm correct. So your first time watching this, what were your thoughts?
The first time I watched it, I think I went a weekday at Draft House or whatever. I do remember liking it. I remember liking the movie. And I think what really ties it together for me, honestly, what ties it in now is the family drama of it all. I find the family drama of this movie incredible, because it's less about for me, it's less about the you know, like the mystical aspects of it. Oh, there's a ghost or whatever. Like, I don't give a shit about any of that. I care about, you know, how like this death is affecting this family, and it's sending everybody into the worst versions of themselves. Like, especially Toni Collette, which, I mean, nobody said it, but I mean, she was snubbed an Oscar for this performance. Like, I think if this movie came out 3 months later, she probably maybe gets a weird nom. But it's like, I mean, because like, I think the thing that we're gonna get into it later, but I think that the thing that especially annoys me about this movie, especially about Ari Aster as a director, is that I can't say Ari Aster is untalented. He clearly has talent. He clearly has a knack for building tension. I don't think there are not many horror directors I think build tension as well as Ari Aster. He's also very good at directing actors. I mean, Gabriel Byrne is probably the best we've seen him in years in Hereditary, and he's completely overshadowed by Alex Wolff and Toni Collette. Like, it's insane. Like, I kind of don't want to talk anymore because Cody, you want to kind of talk about the ending a little bit. I feel like a lot of my problems with it kind of tie into the ending.
And I think that's where the divide will probably be on this movie. So I'm very similar to where Mark was. This movie had me at jump. Like, the family drama, like, one, it puts this family in an unreal circumstance, like an unreal thing. The mom basically, one, deals with like loss at the beginning, forces like the kids out of the house or whatever to just go about to this barbecue. The son takes the daughter's life, like accidentally, but kills the daughter of this situation, and then they have to continue living in this situation. The mom's got to go back to trying to love her son, but just costed, like, it's an unreal circumstance. And the problem I have with this movie, because like that dinner scene where she's screaming at him and like, you never take accountability for anything. If you would have just owned up, like, that stuff is like absolutely insane. The problem with this movie, and I think again, this is where I felt, and again, other people may like it. I feel like the ending is so convoluted and just forced and weird. Like, I get it. Like, if the ghost kills everybody in the house, or Toni Collette kills the son, blah blah. Why did we need like a tie-in to a cult, this is how you contact the devil, like contact your lost ones, and this is, give them a sign of it and put it all together. And like, I just feel like it gets all this great family drama, like, even if if there's no lady that ties you to the medium, and Toni Collette finds this by herself and just tries to like access her daughter from the after, and the daughter is, which shows in the movie, cutting off birds' heads and not like a great child, like, you know, that has something going on. Something's a little creepy without the head being missing, and the daughter just kills the son from the afterworld. Like, this movie's still great, and like Toni Collette like possesses Toni Collette at the end. This movie is absolutely one of the most incredible movies I've ever watched in my life. But the moment the dad catches on fire, and Toni Collette turns into like the fucking just running at the sun, and then they get into a treehouse and they put a crown on its fucking head, and everybody's naked. Like, what are we doing? What did we just jump into? Like, it just takes like a total, like, we're driving, this car is going perfect, and we run right into a fucking wall that's not there. It's Roadrunner shit for me. As soon as he turns around and sees that naked man just staring at him, I was like, the fuck are we doing? It's not the daughter. It's not like the woman that showed this stuff. Nope. We're just going to throw a random man with the junk all out. Just, what's up? And Toni Collette's hanging from the ceiling, jumping down, chasing him. This movie goes 0 to 1,000. I guess the Ed Asner fans like, King continue, but I'm
Astor.
like, whatever.
We
What
just
is his name?
acknowledged that he was just called Ed Astor.
What's his name?
Ari.
Ari Aster.
Ari Aster.
He was
That's a
just
movie, isn't
called
it?
The old man from Up. Ed Astor.
Ed Asner directed
Oh.
this movie. That guy's
Fuck, I don't know. But no, I'm guessing this is what everybody's like, yes, continue on, King. But I'm like, the fuck are we doing? Like, why do we have to do this tonal switch in 10 minutes? And plus the bullshit of like finding the book and be like, you see the pennant? You see this? There's fucking flies coming from the ceiling. Like, why don't we just do a cookie crumb leading to the fucking witch's house? Like, everything just connects in like 3 seconds. Like, what? Please go for it.
I do kind of want to jump on this because I feel like at least some of it, Cody like kind of pointed out a lot of issues I have with the third act, and honestly, kind of boils over to a lot of Ari Aster's future films. Or at least Midsommar, 100% Midsommar. Just because, like, you have this perfectly good family drama, you have this perfectly good thing going on here, and then we just hastily throw in, like, oh, there's this god of mischief, Paimon. He's here, and like, Grandma was a part of this coven of witches that were that were worshiping Paimon, and like they're trying to get Paimon in the earth, and it's actually Paimon who's doing this to the family. And like, what the fuck, guys? Like, what,
and
really?
No one got that from Grandma for 80 fucking years, but it's all found out in a book that no one looked at ever.
That too. Like, did Toni Collette like never look at the photo album?
Nope.
Like of all this.
Nope.
Weird
Didn't notice
shit in
Grandma's
there?
necklace either.
Like, it's just so weird because I feel like that whole thing just completely undercuts like a lot of like just the great shit that happens, and like it's annoying because like almost everything about this movie is kind of perfect, and then like Ari Aster just can't help himself, and like let's explore the aspects of a cult. And like, who gives a flying fuck about a cult? Let's just tell the good story we already have. Like, who gives a shit? Maybe some people do. Me and Cody are on an island here, but you know, maybe what it is.
Well, to be fair, she didn't have the greatest relationship with her mom, so I think it's perfectly plausible that she wouldn't have looked at the photo album or discovered any of this stuff. I mean, maybe we all have great relationships with our mom, and maybe if so, that's great. But okay,
no. But you know anyway, what? If I know my mom, if I'm away from my mom for reasons, sure, she's a devil worshipping cult leader. I think I picked that up at Thanksgiving when I'm 10. Like, it doesn't just randomly pop up after
like
death.
She was going around broadcasting it, I'm sure. But
she literally said at her funeral that like she felt weird even talking because she was such a private woman. Like, she didn't know anything about her mom.
You see her in those pictures, she doesn't look like a proud woman.
And I think
Hereditary, yeah, I think if you're watching Hereditary straight up, it's going to be confusing. But on a rewatch, you know, I thought it was great. And then on a rewatch, they do drop tons of hints of what's going on throughout the movie, but you wouldn't notice them. Like, she talks about when she's in the grief group, she's like, my brother was schizophrenic. He committed suicide because he thought my mother was trying to put people in him. You know, it's like a throwaway line. But you could tell, like, the mother unsuccessfully tried to invoke Paimon with her brother, then unsuccessfully invoked Paimon through Charlie. And they're waiting for the son to be ready to go. So throughout the movie, you realize that the daughter's already possessed by Paimon. That's why she does all the weird shit, all that shit, because it's an unsuitable host for her. It's all mapped out. And when you rewatch it, you'll see it.
Yeah, I think all of it's planned. Like, all of this was supposed to happen. Like, I think the cult was involved with like the death of Charlie. I think it was all planned.
Yeah, I will say, this movie. This is my third. This is my third watch. I just want to say, this is my third watch of the movie, and the cult stuff like still really bothers me, just because I think like I said, I think you already have this firm, ground here of this great family drama stuff, and I think like if it's just the mother going crazy, I think you have something, and like you kind of have something kind of going off of like what has happened in this family, like kind of they're doing to themselves. But I think the moment you introduce this cult and the moment you introduce this god, and like the god is actually driving everything, it kind of takes everything away from how the family is interacting with each other, and it's actually like this weird god that is affecting them, and I think that's kind of bullshit. I kind of hate that about this movie.
So the John thing, that makes more sense. So if there's more to unwrap and there's more like delivered, that's fine. But I think overall, I still think they could have done better to like deliver that, or like not. I don't need exposition or somebody explaining Paimon before it, or like the son walks in on grandma like summoning a demon. Like I don't need that shit to like explain it to me. It just feels like it's completely like jumps fast. Like it's like a cool point, like in the movie, like she throws that book in there to set it on fire, and her arm catches on fire, and like she puts it out. Like once she puts the book out, her on fire goes. Like so, there's this tying into it. It just for me, and I guess on a very first time watch, it goes so quick into batshit stupidville for me. Like because like I think it's so interesting, like when the mom like is going to the son's room and like ants are all over his face, and like the way they're able, because he shoots a fucking beautiful movie, like insanely how this movie is shot and how it looks and how disturbing it is, because it's like dread on top of dread. Like every time, like you look at Alex Wolff's face, you are like, it's lifeless. Like he looks completely drained from like, and I think that's such a good job from his directing and what he's able to change. So I don't think this is a bad movie at all. Like I don't think it's terrible. And I told Scott this last time. Like even watching Midsommar the first time, I need to revisit it because I don't think I think it's better than I gave it credit for the first time, and I think this is the same way. I think it instantly jumps to crazy where it like takes me out of it, where I'm into, because I think what they're doing in this movie, especially the acting performances, like when they summon her and like she goes basically into Toni Collette and like does the voice, and like Alex Wolff's like reaction to like melting down into it is just like, wow, just a crazy ability. So as much as people thought I would hate this, I don't as much as I thought I would. Like the ending's gonna bother me. Like, and I'm gonna rewatch it just at some point to just pick up on those little, like see if it's more prevalent than not. Because I think it took me like 20 minutes to get back in the movie once that kid's head fell off. Because I'm like, what the fuck? Like that was terrifying. Because holy shit, like what a scene! Like the balls on a man to just say, "We're going to take that child's head off," in the worst way possible. So overall, we'll go with ratings. Does anybody else have anything quick to say about her? I don't want to cut anybody, but we talked. I went on a little bit of a rant.
Yeah, I'll just say like I'm somewhere in the middle. Like again, I understand where you guys are coming from, because I do think there is just something slightly unsatisfying about not even as going as far back as you guys are, but the last 5 minutes or so. I don't feel like the family drama necessarily gets the resolution that I would have liked, which is why I don't necessarily love the last 5 minutes or so. But I also agree with the points that John and Melissa are bringing up of, yes, I don't have a problem with this being the explanation for it, because I do think it is set up throughout the movie. And there are plenty of other horror movies that are just about trauma out there. So I think this one tries to do something a little different.
Yeah, I think every Aster movie is just it's gonna be comprised this way. It's a movie at one point in time, but then there are layers that are meant to go back and be revisited. Like Midsommar is even more layered than Hereditary.
Yeah.
Like Midsommar goes to the point that they actually are putting like weird visual Easter eggs in the background of that movie. And I imagine Beau is Afraid is actually even more. I think every little thing that's in the scenes in Beau is Afraid is meant to be dissected and tied back to the movie. So it's just a ton of work. It's like every frame is a picture that you're supposed to study, which I imagine is off-putting for a large swath of the population. But that's just what he does.
So I'm 2 for 2 basic. I'm 2 for 2 on people thinking I would hate his movies, and I don't. So maybe this is a person that like breaks that section. It's kind of weird. So it's my rating. I'm gonna give 3.5 right now. I'm going to revisit it for sure to like pick up those points because as much as I think the ending is crazy, and I think they get convoluted. I have to say the family drama for the 2 hours, it's the last 10 minutes that really just throws me off. I can't say that I wasn't like locked in and like wanting to see where this went. Could have been 4 if that random naked man's just not standing in the corner for no goddamn reason. But whatever. You do you, man. Go King. Melissa, I'm guessing.
Well, he does show up at the funeral, and then
Yes.
I also just wanted to say too, there is commentary in the classroom about basically the lack of control of like the protagonist, and that's basically the point. Is like they don't have control of what's happening. Like this is just
that before or after he smashes his face on the desk? Is that the different
Before.
school scene? Okay.
Yeah.
And
So-
he's wearing clothes at the funeral, right?
He is. He just
Okay.
smiles.
That's why.
weird.
That's why I didn't pick him up. That's why I didn't pick him up. I guess I couldn't
okay.
focus on just making sure.
You didn't
What's your
recognize
rating?
Dick and balls.
But yeah,
like
no,
that was the problem.
No.
No,
None.
I am obsessed with this movie. We didn't really talk about it, but the music is amazing, and yeah, I love the themes of like trauma, generational trauma, mental illness, and like just like
Yeah.
tapping into like the fear of like repeating the behaviors of your parents, which I can personally relate with. 5 stars. If I could give more, I would.
That dinner scene is like could be studied for like multiple. I think that is one of the best acting performances I've ever seen in film, to be honest with you. John.
I'm also 5 stars for everything I said. I think all the Ari Aster movies have been given so far. Work on rewatch, work on re-rewatch, work on re-rewatch. And about the dinner scene, I love how Alex Wolff goes back at Toni Collette and basically like you fucking forced me to take her. It's your fault. Like it's like it's a perfect like snotty adolescent comeback to her flipping out at him. And you're 100% right about Gabriel Byrne. Yeah, I think Mark said Gabriel Byrne. Yeah, welcome back with Hereditary. It was fantastic performance him too as a psychiatrist. And my wife says this to me all the time. How can you work in mental health and know nothing about how to help people? Look, watch Gabriel Byrne in this movie. Man's a doctor, has no fucking idea what to do.
Scott.
4.5 deserves all the hype that it gets.
Mike.
Yeah, I was with Cody where the first time watch of it, it didn't hit me as hard because of the last couple minutes. But watching it, this is where it changed for me and it got to 5 stars. It's a great fucking movie.
And this will be Mark's last time talking because he's got to go. But what's your rating?
Yeah, even though at times I do feel like Toni Collette, where whereas I gotta deal with this fucking face on your face. But like, I think this movie is like a scene or two away from being an absolute masterpiece for me. Like, I'd still give it 4 out of 5 stars. I find it incredibly frustrating, but I can't deny like the great stuff about it.
Okay. All right. So, Mark, we will see you on the next roundtable. Good luck in your match. Okay.
I like The Empty Man. I really love the Let the Right One In. I'll say that. Right.
Absolutely. A movie lost to COVID, basically. The Empty Man. One deserves
Has a similar
a lot.
ending to Hereditary, by the way.
Yeah, we love our cults. But I will say, crazy because looking into this movie, God, no one saw this thing. 0 people saw this thing. And I had my real concerns about this movie. I will be honest. I was not looking forward to this movie, especially at the runtime. Tim also said probably not going to be a fan of that one. Definitely thought this was going to be a stereotypical, like, oh, Slender Man, oh, another fucking, ooh. One, before I open this up to the people and everybody saw it, one of the fucking dumbest concepts of my entire life is you have to be on a bridge and find a bottle and blow into it and think about the empty man. Come on.
But that's the thing. It spreads as like this cult thing that just teenagers talk. That's like the weird, but that is like the weird stuff that teenagers come up with about like, oh, if you go look in the mirror and say Bloody Mary, you
Is
know.
Candyman any weirder?
Yeah.
No, because you know what? You look in your mirror all the time and you can say Candyman 3 times. That makes sense. But you got to find a bottle on the bridge and just blow into it. And by the way, think about it. Think about the empty man.
Sound,
and when he appears,
so, I mean, that helps.
I was like, as soon as these kids grab that bottle, I said, I hope the fucking empty man rips their heads off right now. Morons. I hate kids in movies that are like, let's do this. We've heard creepy things. Well, now you're asking to die, and I hope you do.
That's what teenagers do.
Well, I think we'll circle back to that point because that's actually covered in the movie. We'll circle back to that.
Well, I know, but overall, is this everybody besides Scott everybody's first time watching The Empty Man, or have you guys seen it prior?
I've seen it before.
First time. It was on my list for this year to watch, so it hit me right there, just the right time. So that's good.
Perfect. So, Mike, this seems like a movie straight up your alley. So
you would think so.
Yeah. So, and Mike just went to a random bridge and found a bottle and said, "Let's see if this happens." So, what was your thought when you first watched it?
You know, when I first watched it, it's the same as a rewatch for me, where I like it, but I don't love it. There's certain things of it that I think are really well done, but then stuff like Cody brought up, the entire concept of it is just, you got to do too much to get there, instead of like a Candyman, instead of like a Bloody Mary, where you're already in the situation, it's easy to do. This one, you have to basically seek it out. And even though they do explain why, it still doesn't hit me like it probably would in other movies.
This movie, I will say, has like really good jump scares for me.
Yeah.
Which I don't like at all. I think you're a horrible filmmaker if you put jump scares into any movie. That's just my personal opinion. You can't fact check that on that. But yeah, I literally threw my phone like 3 times.
When he goes out and he sees them all doing like the ritual, and then they all turn towards him like in sync and just start running at him. That's probably like my favorite part of the entire movie because it's so.
I'm
creepy.
really glad
like,
I went to the bathroom before
and they just
watching it.
And he has a little. What is it? He says something like, "No."
Yeah.
And then like he starts running. Like he has a little, joke to the camera.
So yeah, I think this movie works on a whole as a horror movie. I think the mythology, I think that's a lot of like tropes into horror movies, like how the mythology of the character is set up and like what you. I'm like bullshit. Like most of the time, like when I hear like that stupid concept, I'm like, you're fucking. It's like Gremlins. When you don't feed them after midnight, you don't get them wet. The fucker gets them wet and feeds them like instantly, like 30 seconds. Everybody deserves to die at that point. You fucking broke the rules. I don't know why you should live after this. So the same reason, blow in the bottle, get your head chopped off. It's kind of had like a Ring vibe too, which is like what it's like you hear it or whatever, the next day you see it, the third day you die, blah, blah, and how they all die. I think that was interesting. I think the mythology is there. I just think it's really convoluted, like really kind of dumb, but it's actually in that way. So everybody else on your first time watches, what were your guys, Melissa and John, what did you guys think of it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the opening sequence was really, really strong. Like, I thought that was a really good hook to the movie. I do think it kind of meanders quite a bit, like in the middle section. But at the same time, I felt fully engaged the whole time. It did give me kind of Wicker Man vibes in a way, of like how it kind of unfolds. But I don't know, like, this one I feel like the most conflicted because I feel like there's a lot of positives, but there's a lot of negatives too for me. It feels very convoluted and complex and like bloated to the point where like it kind of hurts itself. I feel like sometimes less is better. But like I still really liked a lot of aspects of it. Like I liked the editing of the movie. I thought the performances were really well done. I liked the ending for the most part, even though it's kind of, I don't know, I'm conflicted on how I feel about it, but for the most part I liked it. I think this movie will definitely, like I need to rewatch it again. I think there's a lot that they're throwing at you. I think I'll pick up more on a rewatch. And actually, there is through lines to this in Cure in a way. I feel like, because like the main antagonist says something about like him being empty, like an empty vessel. And I don't know. I definitely was making like connections between a few of the movies that we chose today.
What I would say is like, and this is something that happens all the time in movies. Like, this was a graphic novel first, you know, it was a comic book. So a lot of times when they try to adapt those things, you lose a ton. And I think that's the first misstep of The Empty Man. Still, I think it's a good movie. And the second thing, and it's a plot hole that just took me way out of the movie, is how the fuck did the guy get from Bhutan to America? I don't understand, because they leave him sitting on the edge of the bridge, and then now he's in an American hospital. Like they leave a major part of the story out, and I'm like, well, I don't know how this happens then. And I'm sure. And
you want to see him get on a plane, you know, and just fly.
Yeah, he was
just like Cody saying, they don't get gas in Mad Max.
Still the dumbest thing ever. Those are 6 miles to the gallon vehicles, and they drive 100 like in big rigs. It's dumb. But
all a good movie. I agree with everything Melissa said.
Yeah. So I think like I with Melissa, I think I really like the opening. Definitely hooked me in. I think the thing that hurts this movie for me is the runtime. I don't think this movie deserves the runtime it gets. I think it's very long for what it's trying to set up. Because I don't think there's enough like character development and stuff to like link. Once you get like a longer movie, it's like fleshed out characters you care about, like something like that. You stay in that runtime. What?
The reason he's not a fleshed out character is because we find out in the end that he's basically only existed for like 4 days. So we see his entire character for the entire movie.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like with the other, like the characters that die or something, like where you care about them, or you like for that runtime. Since it's only been around for fucking 4 days, it probably shouldn't be over 2 hours long. It probably should be 90 minutes. Like, my thing is, you could have told this story in a more compact way and cared, like, got those because the jump scares happened, like, to be honest, like some of them like brought me back out of my, like, I almost fell asleep at certain points. I'm not hooked in enough to care about like certain things that are happening. And again, I was from Jump Street. I want these kids to fucking die. Like, I don't care about any of them. Like, they're the fuckers that decided to do this. So
that's fine. I don't think you're supposed to be rooting for them necessarily.
Did they decide, or were they manipulated?
Yeah.
Meh.
I would just say what I enjoy about the movie, and
I don't see that guy buy a ticket. I don't get to see that anymore.
I don't think it's a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination. I do think that the ending is maybe a little bit rushed, but I just like the procedural aspect of like him going around and looking on Google and talking to people and like trying to just find shit out about like what the Empty Man is. That's the aspect of it I like, and that's also, I didn't really say about Cure, but Cure is a lot of that too. I mean, you know, it's like a crime film on some level too, and I think the same thing about the Empty Man is there's a lot of, you know, just sort of procedural stuff. And he goes to the cult meeting, and Stephen Root is there, you know, playing the cult leader, which was great. And you know, I enjoy all of that sort of intrigue. And like grounded intrigue, like, again, we're not necessarily getting into the mythology of it quite yet. It's just like an internet creepypasta type thing, like Slender Man, but it's, you know, deeper and more layered, I think.
I think the refreshing thing about Empty Man, the trope that they turn on his head, is he's like an ex-cop, now he's a PI, and the cops treat him with respect. I appreciated that. Because every time an ex-cop shows up in a movie, all the cops are like, this fucking guy. And they don't do that.
What I will say also is that, crap, it was there, now it's gone. But I will say, like, this is a movie that was very underseen. So at the end of the day, like, I think horror fans like get something out of it that probably, when I remember when this movie came out, like the trailer was like dropped like fast, I think, and like it looked fucking terrible. I was like, well, this is a check off. This is like some horror companies.
You're sure you're not thinking of the Bye Bye Man? Because that's a different thing.
That happened too.
No, I know. Yeah, that wasn't pandemic time. I think I remember everything that was released. Yeah, like, but this was like I think the trailer was terrible, and I think looked like a cut, but it was overall better than it gets the reputation. And again, it was during COVID, so I don't think a ton of people have seen it. So, yeah, great overall. Like again, not a terror. Like again, no movie I was like, what the hell. So Scott, what's your rating?
I give it 4 stars again. I don't think it's like amazing or anything, but I do think it's a really cool movie. And like you said, nobody saw it, so that's the main reason I wanted to bring it, because I thought people might be into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Melissa?
Yeah, I definitely want to rewatch it. I did enjoy a lot of aspects of it. Like, it definitely seems like bridges is like a theme and a symbol. Like, so but I don't feel like I fully like understand why. So like, it's like I definitely want to rewatch it. I think the most terrifying part of this movie was that bowl haircut. Oh my god. But I still like loved it at the same time. But I was just like, okay, that's a look. But yeah, I feel very mixed on it. I'll give it 3.5.
Okay, John.
I'm also at 3.5, and I do think the movie isn't like derivative or anything like that, but there's just a lot of movies that are like it. Like we mentioned, The Wicker Man, Kill List. A lot of movies that are like, somebody's unraveling and they stumble upon a cult that's weird. Even though the twist at the end of this actually gives it that extra half star for me, where he is the vessel. That's cool. 3.5.
All right, and Mike?
Yeah, there's enough fun sequences here where I enjoyed it for the most part, but the length and just the overall aspect of it kept it down. 3.5 as well for me.
I'm at 3. I'm at 3 stars. I don't know. I think the runtime is the only thing that's just going to deter me from it. Okay, and now to our final film of the night, a movie that does not star Chloe Grace Moretz that I accidentally clicked on and watched about 40 minutes of until I made the wrong movie. Didn't look at the title too closely, so I was like, whatever. But I thought it was older, and I looked at it was foreign, but wrong. John, your movie. Has everybody seen this movie prior, or is this the first time watch for some?
Yeah,
I had.
Okay, yeah. So this is the first time watch for me. Wow, I will say, wow. I did not know what I was getting into fully, but this movie has got a lot going for it, and I really, really enjoyed the hell out of it, to be honest with you. Got arguably one of the coolest shots in film that I have ever seen. We'll talk about that, but John, overall, I know you told why you brought it, but like, when did you discover this? Like stuff like that. Like, how many times have you seen this? Is like this a recent thing, or have you seen this for a while?
I saw it like very close to it coming out, like in the late 2000s. Like it came out in 2008. I think I saw it in 2009. I've always come back to it, and every time I come back to it, like I appreciate it more and more. You notice more things every time you watch it. It is at its heart a vampire movie, right? However, it explores really specific things about the myth of vampires, like about being invited into a building, or they can't eat anything but blood, and it does it in a very specific way. It addressed it in a very specific way. And then some movies also like a romance movie. It's like an LGBT movie. It's a movie about bullying. It's a movie about divorce. Like everything gets hit on, and it's all explained in like a very like poignant, like beautiful way. Just all against this backdrop of 1980s Sweden, and it's just always fucking dark and miserable. It's Let the Right One In is awesome. And I think if you haven't watched it, you should watch it.
Yeah, I will say, like, I was really blown away by, like, one, I guess a lot about vampires, silver bullets, like, garlic, all light, all that bullshit. But, like, being invited in and stuff like that, I totally forgot about that. And how they actually just, like, portray that in this movie, I thought was crazy good. Like, when she starts, like, bleeding from so I was like, what the fuck is that? And then I finally like got what was happening. I was like, oh, that's a thing of vampires that I forgot about, but how they portrayed it in the movie is so cool. Also, this movie shot really well. I think that's something that's like just the dramatic like camera turns at times, like where they turned and like she's like standing up on that top of the part, like, and like drops down, like you're like, oh, okay, where are we going? Because like I think this movie, one, I didn't know it was a vampire movie. I didn't really like look into much anything about these movies prior to going into it, and I thought they did a very interesting thing. That swimming pool scene is arguably one of the coolest shot scenes I've ever seen in a movie. Again, I think that movie is shot perfectly because you could have done really dumb things but when you just see the kid held down, like bullied and blah blah blah,
the
and
head
then you
dropping
just
down in the water,
the head drop, the arm, and you're just
so good.
You don't see any to not see what's happening above and just get pieces thrown in is just brilliant. And then when they pan up and everything's dead around it, the feet dragging across the top, I'm just like, this is just like a genius shot. And I was just like, wow, this movie just keeps impressing me with what it does. So again, I rewound that scene because I was like, that's a crazy shot. Mike, Melissa, you guys have seen it prior, so just things that you like about it, or if you don't like about it, please tell me, because I'm doubting that you don't like it, but maybe you do.
Yeah, I only saw it for the first time just a few weeks ago. I just saw it for the first time because it's one of John's favorite movies, so I wanted to see it. And yeah, he is correct. It's an amazing movie. Even beyond just a horror movie, I just think this is it's one of the best movies. It's pretty flawless for me. And I think I don't know, on a second watch, I think I'm gonna say it. I think it's the best vampire movie. That
it's one of these two. It's one of these two movies back here, but I would say probably right.
I don't not quite interesting. Okay, I'm just checking. Mike.
Yeah, I saw the English version in the theater and absolutely loved it. And then I found this one a couple weeks later and watched it and absolutely fucking loved it as well. I think vampires are my favorite monsters in horror. I fucking love vampires. So these movies were up my alley, and this one especially was up my alley with the relationship between the two. I love the relationship that transpires between the two. The pool scene is one of the greatest scenes in horror. It's so fucking well done. And everything in between that of her caretaker in a way who used to be a part of her and how he helps find her blood is so fucking good, and the love that he has for her as well. And everything in between of the little small moments that she has, especially, and of what he's dealing with the bullies is just so fucking great and so realistic with the bullies, especially how the way he handles being bullied and what he does to try to get the power over them until the very end is fucking great.
Yeah, the taxi driver shit he does with the knife.
Yeah,
he's fantasizing about stabbing these kids. He doesn't.
The different shots too that they are able to do. I said this earlier, but when the one person's going in the building and she's scaling the building, where it's shot, and you pick it up on little things, that's just so it's so creative where they're able to achieve what they do. And again, I think it's very hard to make a vampire movie because you can get very tropey very fast. I think that's just a hard thing because these characters or creatures have been around for so long and the mythology is out there for all of them, but you can get very oh yeah, okay, we've seen this prior, we've done this prior, but where they're able to achieve and flip it on its head kind of, and not make it this traditional I want to suck your blood vampire, it's not one just missed it a little bit. Could have picked Dracula Untold. I don't know why you didn't do that. But Scott, what were your thoughts on this?
Those cats really messed that one lady up.
Holy shit! Yeah. Made me hate cats even more than I already do.
Yeah,
Holy crap, those cats went crazy. Well, I'm allergic, Melissa. Nothing personal. Okay. So they hate me, I hate them. It's just
that's fair.
Yeah, no, I agree with everyone else. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought I was going to. Even though it is from the director of The Snowman, which I just mentioned, which is maybe one of the worst.
Yeah, holy crap! Yeah. What is wrong with that man? What happened?
But anyway,
I've seen him shooting snow before. What are you doing?
I've heard about this movie for a long time. This movie was missing a character named Dick Hole, which the Snowman does have, so I will say that. But
Harry Hole.
no, it's Harry Hole. Yeah, I'm sorry, not Dick Hole. Dick
Harry
Hole's a different
Hole.
guy. But yeah, Harry Hole. Yeah, my bad.
That's a
How
sequel.
could I forget? How could I forget? But anyway, yeah, this movie was great. It made me feel a lot of complicated emotions, which I always appreciate in movies, like because I felt empathetic for the characters, for a lot of the characters on some level, but then, how far does that empathy extend? I like when, movies test the limits of that. So I thought this movie was really effective in that regard. Yeah, the visual stuff, especially the swimming pool scene, I firmly agree. I like that. Again, they carry that complexity through to the end of, on the one hand, it's like, oh, a nice little sweet moment, I guess, between them at the end. But then, like, you have to think about all the context surrounding it, and it's just, the things that can bring people together. It's a fascinating look at that, and I wish there would have been maybe a little bit more about Oscar's like backstory. I mean, we know that we know that his mom and him are like, estranged and all that sort of stuff is going on, but I feel like it's just barely there in the background. Like there's not enough, um, connecting me to it. But I guess, the bullying angle, is really the heart of his arc. So, it didn't bother me too much, but that was kind of the one little nitpick maybe that I had for the movie. I think it's really good. I'm curious about the remake, the American version as well. It's probably not as good, but yeah.
There's also a
I'm
Showtime
interested
series
in
now.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
okay.
Okay.
And
It's
the
not
kids
as
were great
bad,
too. The
but the first
performances
40
were great.
minutes isn't terrible. First 40 was fine. I
Good
thought
to
it was
know.
okay,
Yeah.
but this was definitely better. I would already tell that.
Oh,
Yeah,
and like
so-
you guys have said, like just not having a lot of exposition about what's going on, like with the vampire stuff, is good. You don't need that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, and I highly recommend this movie. I highly recommend all of them really tonight. I think that was the interesting thing. Again, me recommend horror movies. It's a once a year thing. Enjoy it while you get it. And all better than Terrifier 2, so I appreciate everybody for that. God, that movie fucking sucks. All right, so
It's fun.
we're gonna get ratings. John, what's your rating on it?
This is a 5-star movie. This is my favorite horror movie. Like my favorite horror movie that I share with other people. Put it that way. I also want to point out just two small things. Like one, the big reveal that like Ellie is not a girl is crazy, and the fact that like we do kind of see the relationship. And not that I'm disagreeing with Scott. I do think they could have done more with the mom, but we kind of get the little bits and pieces of the backstory. The parents are divorced, and I think it's heavily implied it's because the dad is gay. Is why the parents are divorced.
Yeah. I mean, that would be. I'd have to rewatch it, but you may be right about that.
Yeah. You'll see it because he visits his dad twice during the movie, and you get a lot of that backstory just through the things that aren't said. So I think it's all those little tiny backstory, like the bullying and like why he's weird. He's obsessed with death, and he's like taking newspaper clippings. The firefighter asks him the question. He's the only kid that knows the answer. This kid's fucking weird. If you've ever been like a weird 12-year-old boy, you'll love this movie. I say definitely 5 stars.
Mike.
Yeah, this is a quintessential 5-star movie. It's a great fucking movie. I love everything about it. Great shit.
I'm at 4 stars. Definitely could go up at the first time watching. Melissa.
Yeah, this is 5 stars for me. I love the atmosphere that's established, and something I wanted to bring up is I love kind of the makeup of Ellie kind of throughout, because like she looks so malnourished and like terrible at the beginning, and it just kind of, as the movie goes on, she looks more and more replenished, and I loved kind of that little detail. And also I'm just like, girl, you must be cold, but like I guess not, because like she's never wearing anything, but you could see the breath. I just meant like the actress like actually filming it, like that looks really cold. But yeah, I can see myself rewatching this like on a snowy day. This movie's great.
Scott.
It's 4.5. It's really good. It's going to be in my top 5 of my roundtable list, I think, for first time watch movies that I've watched for the show.
All right, that's the show. Thank you all for being on. Again, I appreciate John for first time watching. Definitely will get you on another one, Melissa and Mike. Definitely enjoy having you back. Definitely will get you on another one. Scott, we'll see if you make the next cut. Just kidding. So our next episode, we're going to have Shadow of the Vampire, Ghost Point Blank, The Sting, Minority Report, Brawl in Cell Block 99, and Till Dusk Till Dawn. So those will be the 6 movies that we watch next week. We also have themed episodes coming up. We are doing holiday movies, we are doing documentaries, and we are doing guilty pleasures.
Guilty pleasures, yeah.
Guilty pleasure. Gosh, don't know how that's going to go. I'm trying to get a chaos panel for that. But yeah, thank you all for being on. We will see you next time on the next roundtable. Peace.